Hi, I'm David. Over the course of the semester, our MBA consultant team has developed an in-depth business plan for Taurus Media. Before I start, I would like to point out that this video was edited by the CEO of the company, Thaco Rucker, and gives you a small snippet of some of the work he does. We would like to thank him for his time and contribution in helping us develop this video. I would like to remind you of our MBA consultant team, comprised of Dominic Blesson, Elizabeth Solomon, Kayla Reed, and myself, David Perez. In this video presentation, we'll spend time introducing you to the business, reviewing our goals and objectives, and then spend some time walking through our recommendations for a strategic 3-year plan for the organization. Now let's start off by getting to know a little bit about the company. Taurus Media is a video production company that was founded in 2010 with a $10,000 cash investment. CEO and founder Thaco Rucker works full-time at Fox Network and allocates part of his time to Taurus Media. The name Taurus Media was derived from the founder and CEO's birthday, which lands in the Taurus zodiac timeframe. The business is located in Atlanta, Georgia, which is considered the Hollywood of the South, in which Georgia is the third largest state for the film and production industry, behind California and New York. The company is comprised of Emmy Award-winning producers, directors, editors, and photographers, and provides diversified services in the creation of corporate videos, weddings, distribution of commercials, film and documentaries. Services include conceptualizing, script writing, storyboarding, casting, filming, animation, and post-production. Now that I have talked a little bit about our business, I will discuss some of the objectives that Thaco wants for his business in the next coming years. As MBA consultants and in our consultation with Thaco, we recommended 3 key objectives to help his business grow. Those objectives are to create a television or movie pilot, commonly known as premium content, grow revenues by 40% or more within the next year, increase visibility and brand awareness through a more extensive marketing initiative. With those objectives in mind, I will now talk about the business legal structure. Since Thaco is the sole owner of Taurus Media, the business is currently a limited liability corporation, LLC, and is taxed as a sole proprietorship. Because of the nature of the business, as a sole proprietorship LLC, advantages for Taurus Media include not being subjected to double taxation, limited liability, ease of administration. These are just some of the advantages why we feel Taurus Media should remain a sole proprietorship LLC. Now that I have talked about the company's legal structure, I will now cover the company's startup resources and costs. Here's a snapshot of the original startup costs the company sustained in 2010. I would like to remind you that because the initial investment was made with cash, these are expenses that currently don't affect our financial statements today. As you can see, the total equipment costs come to $8,500, which includes cameras, lighting, digital property development, and the perpetual software editing license. Other costs include $800, a trademark establishment fee, and general liability insurance, as well as a small business license, which both must be paid yearly. This brings the total initial startup cost to $9,300. Although the nearly $10,000 investment seems to be a small amount, it has jump-started the organization and enabled them to grow their business operations well into the present. For a company that started as a side business, the small cash financing activity has enabled the company to optimize and grow their business. Now that I have talked to you about the business startup cost, I will pass it to Kayla, where she will talk about the capital budgeting for the business. Go ahead, Kayla.
Thanks, David. As mentioned, my name is Kayla, and I want to talk to you a little bit about our approach to capital budgeting for Taurus Media. Now, as you know, Taurus Media is a real company based right here in Atlanta. And through our conversations with the CEO, we have found that he is very debt averse. So for this reason, we needed to build a plan that would actually meet the expectations of THACO. Now, as David just mentioned, the goal of the organization is to develop a pilot within the next 2 to 3 years. So we've developed an aggressive yet attainable plan that will help them finance their pilot investment through their cash operating activities. Those operating activities include weddings, corporate videos, and short films. It's important to note that the company has been able to successfully sustain their revenue model based on the cash flows that have come in from their operating activities over the years. So, from a capital budgeting perspective, we feel confident that we'll be able to implement a plan within the next 2 to 3 years to help the company reinvest their cash profits back into the organization. With that, I'll pass it along to Dominic to talk to you about our market analysis.
Thank you very much, Kayla. Hello, everybody. My name is Dominic Blesson, and I will briefly talk about market analysis. For the purposes of this presentation, I will be focusing on market demand. However, for an in-depth analysis, you can also find a sensitivity and risk analysis along with the pricing structure in our supplemental final report. To better understand how we've developed this strategic plan, it is important to first have a solid background of the market and industry for which the business currently operates in. The video production industry has become increasingly commoditized over the years. This means that the barriers to entry have gone from high to low, in part due to globalization and the ease of access to training resources. By the year 2019, video will make up nearly 80% of all web traffic, which is crucial for Taurus Media because it shapes the landscape they are operating in. The industry is expected to grow from 29 to 35 billion US dollars by the year 2019, with digital video ads making up nearly 35% of all marketing spending in the US. Atlanta currently has over 148,000 businesses operating within its city limits, providing increased opportunity for Taurus Media to build their corporate video clientele. For now, I will pass it along to Kayla, where she will be talking about the SWOT analysis. Go ahead, Kayla.
Thanks, Dominic. Now, to understand where we're going, it's important to understand the external and internal factors that'll help us refine our strategic path forward. As you can see here, we've developed a detailed SWOT analysis that explores internal and external factors affecting the company and the industry. For the purposes of this presentation, we'll highlight one topic from each section. However, feel free to review our full business plan for additional details. Now, Taurus Media's got a number of strengths, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to focus on THACO's tenure in the industry and his Emmy Award. Now, as you can imagine, an accolade like an Emmy Award is pretty rare and it drives a lot of credibility. So we want to take advantage of this in any way that we can. We want to incorporate messaging around the Emmy Award and THACO's tenure into all of our platforms, whether it's their website, social media, and all of their print collateral. We want to make sure that this messaging is synonymous with the brand. Now, let's talk a little bit about their weaknesses. So let's focus in specifically on their online presence and their marketing. We know that right now, Taurus Media currently doesn't actually have a marketing plan in place. We also know that the company has very limited SEO visibility online. So for 2017, you'll see that it's a core part of our recommendation to develop an integrated communications plan with SEO implications as a priority. This is going to get the company to the next level from a marketing and brand awareness perspective. So there are a number of opportunities that Taurus Media has, but their biggest opportunity right now is to leverage the booming Atlanta business market. According to the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, Metro Atlanta is home to more than 5 million people and has the lowest relative business costs among the nation's top 10 largest metro areas. As far as capitalizing on this opportunity, Taurus Media needs to continue developing relationships in the market with professionals across the business scene and in his industry. In other words, networking is key. Lastly, let's talk about the threats facing Taurus Media. Now, as you can imagine, the film industry is pretty competitive. And there are 3 main competitors in this market that Taurus Media needs to be aware of. The first is new entrants to market. The second is peers. And the third is powerhouse players. For the purposes of this video, we're going to focus in on that peer level set, as those are the most imminent threats to Taurus Media's existence. Now, peers are very similar in terms of their size and their capabilities in the market. But what we found in our research is that their peers are currently ranking much higher than Taurus Media when it comes to SEO organic searches. So, how are they going to mitigate this threat? We can't say it enough. Strategic SEO and marketing efforts for 2017 are going to be fundamental to beating out the competition. So now that we've taken a look at Taurus Media SWOT, let's jump into their cost analysis. For a detailed look at costs, you can check out our final report. However, let's jump into fixed costs. These figures were derived from a number of conversations that we had with the company's CEO, and they were based on vendors that he's worked with in the past and historical figures. These things include items like business licensing, cell phone bills, business insurance, and other costs. For this video though, we're really going to focus our efforts on those major increases for 2017. And at the top of that list, you might have guessed, is marketing. So we know that one of the biggest weaknesses that Taurus Media is facing is their low brand awareness. So an integrated marketing plan is going to be critical to their 36-month success. Based on our research in the market, we found that a $12,000 spend for a local firm is going to include PR, social media, and at the top of that list, SEO implications and a plan. On the other end, in those in-depth conversations with THACO, we found that another key investment area is industry events and conferences. We found out that during those conferences, hopefuls are able to set up one-on-ones with industry media buyers and pitch their content. This is going to be a critical component to achieving the organization's goals. In 2017, we've budgeted for 2 conferences, the same with 2018. However, you'll see that in 2019, we bumped that up by 2 for a total of 4 conferences so that Taurus Media has ample opportunity to sell in their premium content. From a variable cost perspective, again, these figures were based off our conversations with THACO. You'll see that the biggest variable cost hike in 2017 is due to the implementation of more corporate videos and short films, and a cost associated with that is in independent contracting. So, independent contractors are primarily comprised of writers, voiceover artists, actors, and directors. And based on those projections, we're looking at about a $14,000 hike to support those costs and our aggressive expansion plan. This brings our overall budget, including fixed and variable costs for 2017 in our most likely scenario, to about $44,000 for the year. Lastly, let's look at forecasted revenue. For Taurus Media to meet their 40% increase objective, they're going to need to hone in on their operational activity goals. Those operational activity goals include 4 weddings, 6 corporate productions, and 2 short films. For this presentation, let's take a look at how we broke down the pricing for weddings. In our discussions with THACO, we uncovered that when billing for weddings, the company uses 2 different bill rates, one for the prep and filming and one for editing, with editing increasing by $50 an hour due to the technical nature of the work. According to THACO, the average time spent on prep work is about a day, or 8 hours. On the editing side, the average estimate video runtime is approximately 20 to 30 minutes once complete. Applying the video editing rule of thumb, 25 minutes of video nets out at about 1,500 minutes of editing time, or 25 hours. At a $150 per hour bill rate, that puts us at approximately $3,700 for editing. When we add the 2 together, we arrive at the average revenue estimate of just over $4,500. And multiplying this figure by the recommended quantity of 4 weddings for the next year, we arrive at just over $18,000, which puts us at meeting our revenue goal of $16,000 for 2017. With that, I'll pass it to Dominic to talk to you about balance sheets. It's all yours, Dominic.
Thank you, Kayla. Let's take a look at the balance sheets for all 3 scenarios and what they tell us about the company's financial health. To start, I want to mention that all 3 scenarios, most likely best and worst case, have 0 liabilities. This again is because our client is so debt averse. He prefers to save the needed capital first and then proceed into investing. Our client purchased a $12,000 camera in 2016, which is depreciated through straight line depreciation. For the most likely and best case scenarios, we see that $19,000 in camera equipment will last him for the next 36 months. Whereas the worst case takes into account a stolen camera in 2018. As a result, a new camera for $12,000 had to be purchased. For the best and most likely case scenario, we can see an increase in cash and still have no liabilities, which indicates a well-run, healthy, and successful company. To get to know more about Taurus Media's cash position and plans, I will pass it on to Beth. Take it away, Beth.
Thanks, Dominic. Hi, I'm Beth, and today I'm going to cover Taurus Media's cash flows, income statement, and cost volume profit analysis. After looking into the many different fixed and variable costs that Taurus Media currently incurs, as well as the ones that we see them incurring in the future, as Kayla mentioned before, we will now be looking at the company's projected cash flows. Here we derive basic ideas of what we found could be the most likely, best, and worst case scenarios for the next 36 months for the company. Our detailed cash flow statements can be found in our final report, but for time constraint reasons, today we will only look at the ending cash flows. As expected from the names, the best case scenario sees the highest ending cash flows through the next 36 months, while the worst case sees the lowest. The projected 2017 ending cash flows in both the best and most likely scenarios see sufficient funds to produce a pilot in 2018. The pilot costs are the main driver of costs in 2018. In the most likely case, pilot costs totaled more than $42,000. The worst case scenario does not see adequate revenues to handle a pilot at all, as there will not be sufficient revenues to cover it in strictly cash. The 2018 best case shows a slightly higher ending cash than the most likely scenario. Although the revenue in the best case is more than double the revenue in the most likely scenario for this year, the costs associated with the 3 short films that are projected in the best case prove to be costly for the company. I will talk more about the benefits of short films shortly in the cost volume profit analysis. The best case also resulted in hefty taxes that Thaco incurred on his personal income and self-employment taxes due to owning the LLC. Thaco takes the appropriate amount needed for taxes out of the business's ending cash, so the more than $40,000 of estimated taxes in the 2018 best case scenario caused a decrease in ending cash flow. Moving on to income statements, we will take a look at where the revenues get distributed now. Although we believe Taurus Media will bring in $95,000 in revenue for 2018 in the most likely case, we determined that the net income would only be just under $19,000. This chart shows what I previously mentioned in the cash flows, that the pilot will result in a massive increase in expenses for 2018. Expenses result in a whopping 80% of revenues here, leaving a minor 20% left for income. The cost volume profit analysis allowed us to dig deeper into Taurus Media's break-even sales for each service offered. Narrowing in on each individual service allowed us to determine which proved to be the most profitable. Of the 3 services the company offers, weddings proved to be the most profitable in each scenario. The contribution margin ratio for the most likely case in 2018, 19, and 20 are consecutively above 97% due to the low cost to produce this content, never exceeding $400. Based on our break-even sales and cost volume profit analysis, short films proved to be the least profitable due to the variety of costs that they consist of. We feel as though Taurus Media needs to focus on short films, however, in an attempt to increase their brand as a film company. To sum it all up, in the most likely scenario, Taurus Media would have enough cash inflows to be able to focus on growing their reach in the short film industry. Although short films are not the most profitable, each time Taurus Media produces a short film builds an opportunity for the company to open new doors and broaden their networking. Becoming a well-known brand will certainly help the company down the road when they are beginning to produce more premium content. In conclusion, we feel as though Taurus Media should focus on the areas where they bring in a higher profit margin, like corporate videos and weddings. However, they also need to keep short films on their radar in order to prove that they have both experience and network among their colleagues. Dominic will now talk about ROI.
Now let's talk a little bit about the projected ROI, also known as return on investment. For the most likely scenario, we identified positive cash throughout our 36-month forecast. Therefore, we have decided to continue with our pilot in February as seen in this chart. The company is recovering from this investment very well and is showing an increase in cash. We should also note that every time the blue line passes our red line, we have positive cash within the company. For our worst case scenario, we can immediately see negative cash flows throughout our 36-month predictions. Our cash outflow exceeds our cash inflow and puts the company in a bad situation. In the last year, month 24 through 36, we can see a negative ending balance, which also represents a very unhealthy company. Finally, our best case scenario represents a positive cash flow throughout most of our 36-month predictions. While February is showing a negative ending balance, the company is able to recover and is showing strong performance, especially in the last 12 months of our forecast. This graph also tells us that our company is keeping a positive cash flow throughout most of our 36-month prediction, representing a very healthy company. For now, I'll pass it to David, where he will be talking about ethical constraints. Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Dominic. In our analysis of the industry, we've identified a number of ethical constraints and considerations that Taurus Media should be mindful of when filming. Some of those include political themes or topics, race, gender or ethnicity, and animal rights or the environment. Keeping these ethical constraints in mind, we have developed an ethical code of conduct for Taurus Media to help with these constraints. Next, I will talk about Taurus Media's feasibility analysis. After reviewing all three planned scenarios in depth, we needed to add one final layer of criteria to help us determine feasibility of each project. These criteria were derived from individual goals of the CEO and were developed based off his bare minimum expectations for whether or not he'd move forward with the plan as proposed or not. As such, we base feasibility criteria off of the following. Number 1, did the scenario garner 36 months worth of positive cash flows? Number 2, should the CEO, Thaco Rucker, leave his position at Fox News, and would he be able to sustain himself on wages earned through Taurus Media of $45,000 a year? And last, number 3, would the company be able to generate enough cash and develop a pilot without financing through debt? All in all, when looking across all three scenarios, the only option that hits each of these criteria is the best case scenario. However, it's important to note that with the most likely case, while the company's CEO wouldn't be able to immediately leave his position with Fox, the scenario is still a feasible option and allows the company to achieve their ultimate goal, which is to finance the pilot through cash generating activities. I will now pass it to Dominic one last time to share closing remarks. Go ahead, Dominic.
Thank you very much, David. In conclusion, as a quick reminder, Taurus Media's objectives are to, number 1, create a television or movie pilot without incurring any debt. Number 2, growing revenues by 40%. And number 3, increasing visibility and brand awareness. Keeping these objectives in mind, our team set out to develop a detailed business plan that would help Taurus Media meet these goals. Should the company hit the projections we set out for them in our 36-month plan and implement a successful integrated marketing plan, we feel pretty confident that Taurus Media will be able to generate enough cash to create their pilot and continue to expand. Lastly, we want to thank Thaco himself for his valuable time throughout this semester. And we also want to thank our viewers for taking the time to view this final presentation. Have a great rest of your day.
Quiet on the set.